Spaceport, a gateway to the stars, built by men who weren't paid. Their paychecks are being diverted for one reason: war. This is the brutal calculation. The war machine must be fed, and now it's eating itself from the inside out. Moscow is making a big choice. It is called guns over butter. This means pulling money from areas like schools and hospitals to fund its armed forces. This military spending is more than double what a country like Italy directs to education. This is a truly massive amount of cash. This level of spending has not been seen since the Cold War. It shows a clear shift in the nation's priorities. The focus is now almost entirely on the conflict. This decision changes everything for the country's future. To cover these huge bills, officials are dipping into a special savings fund. This rainy day jar, created in 2008, was meant to store extra money from selling oil and gas. It was designed to keep the economy stable for the future, but that fund has now shrunk by about half since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine began. This is a clear sign of intense financial strain. The government is using up its emergency money at a rapid pace. This strategy cannot last forever. It shows how costly the current path has become. Honestly, the whole situation is just a hot mess. On the surface, paychecks are getting bigger. But this is not because businesses are doing great. It is because there are not enough workers. A huge number of young men have joined the army. Many others have moved to different countries. These are often young, qualified professionals and their families. This has left a shortage of over 1 million skilled people. This is a huge gap in the national workforce. Companies are desperate to hire from a smaller pool of people, so they offer more money to fill empty jobs. But this creates a vicious cycle. To cover higher wages, those same companies raise the prices of their goods and services. So while paychecks get bigger, everything from food to bus fares gets more expensive. That extra cash just vanishes. It's like getting a taller ladder to reach a shelf, but the shelf is being lifted even higher. Here is a real-life story. In a remote eastern region, workers built a new spaceport, but they had not received their wages for months. The total unpaid amount was estimated at hundreds of thousands of dollars. This was a devastating blow to the workers and their families. It left them unable to support themselves. Desperate, they painted messages on the roofs of their barracks. They wrote, "Save the workers," for officials to see. This action highlighted the deep strain on ordinary people. For many families, the struggle is real. Housing has also become a major problem. A popular program that helped people buy homes has ended. Without that assistance, banks are charging much higher interest rates. The central bank has set its key interest rate at a staggering 20%. For comparison, the situation is very different elsewhere. In the United States, the rate is closer to 4.5%. India's rate is around 5.5%. The rate in Eurozone countries is even lower, just over 2%. This makes it impossible for families to buy a new home. For almost everyone, the dream of homeownership is now out of reach. An agency that watches the financial system warns of a housing bubble. This is because prices remain sky high from when loans were cheap, creating a risk that the market could crash. Many nations have tried to push back using sanctions. These are economic penalties designed to stop Russia's war machine in Ukraine. EU countries have significantly dropped their purchases of Russian oil and gas. But the Kremlin has found ways to adapt. Moscow is building new trade relationships, Countries like China, India, and Turkey are now major partners. This pivot comes at a cost. Russia is often forced to sell its oil at a steep discount. It also has to accept payments on unfavorable terms. For example, India has forced Russia to accept payments in rupees, which are harder to use globally. This shows a massive shift in global commerce. The new partnerships are a lifeline for the sanctioned economy. This pivot to Asia keeps the nation's wealth from collapsing, but it creates a new kind of vulnerability. Moscow is now heavily reliant on Beijing for its economic survival. To get around the blockade, a shadow fleet of ships is used. These are old, often uninsured tankers that move oil secretly. During a winter storm on the very same day, 2 of these aging tankers sank in the Black Sea. The accident created a massive oil spill near Anapa, is Russia's most popular summer resort, one of its very few warm beach destinations. For many Russians, it is a beloved escape from gray towns to find sun and sea. But the pollution was so bad the town had to close its beaches for the entire summer season. This was a stark reminder of the environmental risks of this fleet. The focus on war production comes at a direct cost to other sectors. While military factories are booming, civilian industries are in decline. This shows that the economic growth is not balanced. It is concentrated in areas that do not improve daily life for citizens. Making an expensive missile and firing it at Ukraine adds to the statistical growth, but it creates no real value for the economy, only human losses and pain in Ukraine. The nation's financial system might look okay on the surface, but most of its current strength comes from military outlays. If you took that away, a lot of the statistical growth would disappear. Even the head of state, Putin, has acknowledged the pressures. This is unusual, as he rarely speaks directly about internal problems. He suggested that the country cannot pour all its money into defense forever. This comment reveals the tension at the heart of the government's strategy. Even the leadership recognizes that this path has limits. The country's other needs cannot be ignored forever. As the 18th century thinker Adam Smith said, "No society can surely be flourishing and happy, of which the far greater part of the members are poor and miserable." That old wisdom still hits hard. When a state puts too much focus on fighting, everyday people usually feel the pain first. What is happening is not just about tanks and headlines. It is about finances, families, and food prices. It is about the future of how the world does business. Behind those big words are choices and people. Stay curious, ask questions. The more you know, the better you can shape your world. Check out our next video on Russia's speech crackdown and the brutal jail sentences faced by everyday citizens. Slava Ukraini!